Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, who wants for every child in the Middle East who did not get to go to high school and learn how to read and write, to have all of the information that he needs to be a doctor in an instant in a book, and to that God has made it so that any person can get all of the information about the uh, important, intellectual, knowledgeable things in the world very easily. So there is a succession of wars named World Wars, and the World Wars, what is not clearly understood in high school or anywhere, is that they are intensely connected with the gas, with the rise of the industry of of a mechanical industry where everything is powered by engines. So the combustion engine is a revolutionary technology, and that technology changed the power structure of the economy in a way that no one has ever seen in the history of the world. So it's like the invention of the wheel, and like this is the invention of the combustion engine, and or combustion engine. And so this is revolutionary technology. And because of this, a 100-year gas war had started. And it is a gas war because the gas is the fuel that is like it's the highest demand and the highest volume is demanded. And the second largest demand is the iron of the machines. So these industries are revolutionary industries. These industries, they are essential to economic formations. So, and essential for a city to thrive in this economic world that we have now. So, when the combustion engine was developed, the Northerners, which are this these old kingdoms, here in this European area, um, they had managed to secure enough wealth to control their cities, and they were kings and queens, and they were able to develop quite a well organized system of power economically in this area, and it continues. And these places were very underdeveloped economically, and that's very connected with the green. The green supports a life, but of course, as we know, it's much colder there, so there are limitations on the land's ability to support the thriving of the life. So back in the right before World War One, the British the Europeans understood that this was going to be life and death. It was going to be the end of the empire, and if they did not secure the gas supply, so what they did was, in World War One, the British rulers gave orders to their generals to come down and attack at Constantinople, which is now Istanbul, to attack at Palestine, and to come down and attack near Basra. So that would be boom, boom, boom. This is what the British were up to in World War One. And just go ahead and look at Wikipedia battles. It's very clear. This is exactly what they were doing. Constantinople, Palestine, and Basra. That's the objectives of the British in World War One. And while they knew that they did try to defeat, to at least put the Turkish Empire in surprise mode. They knew they could not take Constantinople. And they did come to Palestine, and they were unable to hold Palestine. But however, when they came to Basra, they found it easier, and they were able to take over Basra and to start coming up the Euphrates River into Baghdad. And that's where the British got their first foothold. And so that is World War One. So in World War Two, Germany starts to basically rebel against the world economic system due to their injustices. As this is the whole setup of their political political setup. And then Hitler made the secret plans with Stalin and Italy, Mussolini, that they were going to try to get better control of this region right here, so that then they could push this way and control this way. And they were quite successful to a time, until there was able to be like a shift of alliance here and a destabilization here with Stalin in Moscow that created this competition. And so Hitler fell because of Stalin, and then Stalin fell because he cannot be allowed to exist here. And Mao, who maybe a couple decades later was busy doing genocides in this entire region, genocide after genocide in Cambodia and in Vietnam, in China, and all throughout this area right here is genocide central in the last 50 years. And for that reason, for the reason that when you do genocides and you use communism to control economies, you are able to wield economic powers that are so overwhelming that you can easily just start attacking and controlling other economies. And that is exactly what China is now doing. And this is exactly how the European empire has always operated. It's to come to places where they can extract natural resources and use that leveraging over there to control their own economies. And so this is just a disgusting control mechanism. So what happens is in World War II, there's again, the fight gets brought down to the Middle East in attempt to secure those oil fields, which are essential for powerful economy, for any economy who intends to compete or survive in this new world of the combustion engine. So this is the crossroad of the East, or the communist central, and the West, which we think is the free world, which we believe that it's more free. And this is a very repressive, actually in South America, they're super oppressive to their people. And I mean, there's a certain sense of freedom of life in Africa because the land is so big and wide, but these are these governments are tyrannistic. These are tyranny governments. They oppress life and economies. They stop life, they stop economies. So that's what dictator governments do. They destroy the life of the country. So now there is, in their own words, the development of this gas industry was a project that was very that was the total focus after World War II. And after World War II, the Americans sent over hundreds and hundreds of workers, American workers, with engineering expertise because they went to university, they went to college, and so they needed people who knew a little bit about laying down pipes for pipelines, and to be able to work all of this. So they kind of needed some kind of intellectual base, which is something that, you know, maybe they could or they could not. I'm sure that they could absolutely get intellectuals from Saudi Arabia himself, but however, this changes the power structure. So what they did was they got foreigners to come in, do a job, and then send them home. So they just paid them a lot of money, come in, do what we need you to do, and then get out. And they wanted them out, and so this was just a contract job. So they went about laying down the pipeline, and we're going to try to take a look at that pipelines and the geography here, just to kind of get a better understanding of this whole situation. Is really going to open up your eyes. I'm trying to be more social about this instead of more intellectual about this, because it takes a tremendous effort to be able to pull together all the time all of these understandings. So this is how they set up the pipeline, and the essential feature of this pipeline from Saudi Arabia at that time was that they needed to get the gas from this area. And as we knew that from World War I, this area was essential. They were getting it out of Basra, and they were getting it from the Persian Gulf near the shores of Iran, and then even from Iran. So Iran and Saudi Arabia are the first and the number one world powers in gas, and this is where we've always got it from for 120 years. So their idea was that we need to get this gas up to Europe, and the hallmark feature of this project was to get that pipeline from Ras Tanuf up the borderline with Iraq and across Jordan, up the alleyway of the Tigris, between the borders of Israel and Lebanon, exactly where Nasrallah and Netanyahu are face to face now. This is where the pipeline goes, right between their noses. So that is here, up in here, which, all right, so the pipeline goes from Ras Tanuf across this very empty desert along the borderline with Iraq, across the corner of Jordan, and then in front of Israel and Lebanon's borderway into the White Sea. That is the pipeline. So we'll look at that one first quickly. So we want to get a sense of the land here. We want to be able to know the world. We want to be able to know what is this place. So we're going to have to go and we're going to have to look at it. You're going to have to jot down, you're going to have to take a look, and you're going to have to file it in your visual memory that, hey, this is the first time that you're going to see it. You're going to see it, and you're going to know, and you're going to leave. You're going to die a person who knows what it looks like. Who knows when you die and you close your eyes, you're going to say, hey, I know what the world looked like. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to die, and they are never going to know where they were, what kind of world was I living on, what did it even look like. You had eyes and you didn't know. And remember, your grandmother never got to drive a car at 18 years old. Never. Your grandmother was never flying through the hillsides in the sunny breeze in her motor vehicle. They did not have cell phones, and we live a totally different life with a tremendous power that we're wielding that was not known by the conscience before. So here we are, and we are going to try to just take a look at what lays along that pipeline route. And it's just just yellow, just a yellow blur. So it is an essential understanding that has been obscured by the Freemasons, that this world, the sun touches the world evenly, and along the equator. See if we can get back out in a way that we can see it. So the equator is under the top of Africa. That means that all of North Africa is in the northern hemisphere. That's why some of them look a little white. Okay, and that's why your really dark guys are in Brazil, Sudan, and Chad, and Niger, because that's where the equator is. So how are you trying to tell me that the sun is responsible for the color and the green, for the ability of the earth to hold water, when this is the equator? By what logic? And so this is exactly the point, is that you're going to go to high school and some teacher is going to tell you that this is the equator, and that the changing of the landscapes and the deserts is because of, you know, the work of the sun, because it got so hot there. And you're going to be like, wow, okay, it doesn't make sense, but if I say it to myself long enough, then I'll just forget about rationality. I'll forget about logic. It's programming, it's brainwashing. And the real reason for the changes in the color and the ability of the ground to hold water has nothing to do with tectonic plates, because there are no tectonic plates. The tectonic plates theory is a 100% lie. And the more intellectual and scholarly that you choose to be, you will start to see these answers kind of clearly in it. And it would be like 2020 corona, and you're the doctor, and you would be like, what am I? Oh my God. You would be shocked and appalled, and you would feel trapped with your knowledge. It's just a terrible thing that to have to stand by. So the true reason, and you can search this, you can try to go out on a further quest of information on this one, that geologically, the reason for the difference is that there are variations in the crust due to the composition of the crust, and we know that. And that due to the different compositions and, you know, movement and so on, it can allow for water to pool in areas where you get big reservoirs, and it allows magma and to pool in certain areas. And so this area is not being deprived of water because of the sun from the sky. It's being deprived of water because under the ground it's too hot for the water to really be able to stay there. And for that reason, that the plants can't thrive. And so that is how you will get 120 degrees or like 200 degrees Celsius, or however hot it gets in these areas. It's not because the sun, it's stronger in Nigeria than the sun is not strong, or the sun is stronger in Libya. It's not stronger. The sun didn't ever get any stronger. Look at the colors. It's because the ground, it's not allowing you. It's like turning on the oven or turning on the hot stove and putting an ice cream on the top of the stove with the stove turned on. This is how the ground is being made. And so that is what is happening here. So now returning to the pipeline. So in 1947, they got all of these American contractors come over here and build a pipeline to Europe in order to get gas out of this area. and they built it straight up the side of Iraq, across Jordan, and through the face of Netanyahu and Nasrallah. And then 1 year later, they established the state of Israel in order, obviously, at his face, in order to guard it. And at this time, there was a huge uproar from the powers, from these kingdoms here, in order to try to stop this project of Europe being able to access this gas, because they want to have a power leverage too. But we didn't want them to have power over us, because we didn't think that that was gonna be in the interest. We absolutely felt it was a survival, a fight of survival. So all of the Arab kings came and tried to push them, fight against them, to blockade them here out of the Red Sea and so on. And so this continues until all of the treaties and economic and political and alliance making could be, settled after they killed a couple of businessmen and gave a couple of new guys a new business, and then rearranged so that they so that the biggest competitor was gonna be the one who stands on the top, and it was going to be a monopolistic power structure. And so that's what we have in present day. And Israel struggled a lot. He was kept on life support by the European powers, and now, last year, Netanyahu tried to come to the United Nations and say that they're going to do the same thing, and we didn't really comprehend, maybe a lot of people didn't comprehend at the time, was that is exactly what they are trying to do now. They are trying to not only create the Ben Gurion Canal, which would be a waterway that would connect the Gulf of Aqaba up to the White Sea. And if you know anything about how intense, how incredible it would be to try to move this amount of earth, then you know that the only fathomable way is in a straight line. You got to take the most direct route. So they're going to try to get from the Aqaba to the White Sea in order to make the canal, and simultaneously they are trying to intensify this trade corridor up to the White Sea here on the border of Iraq and Jordan. And they absolutely have this new Middle East plan in order to create that power structure. But what the free world is truly facing is that there is this super powerful dictatorships controlling billion people each over here, and they are very powerful, and they are forces to be reckoned with. This is Shaitan. This is coming. You're gonna fight the devil. We are gonna fight the devil. This is gonna be a battle of Shaitan. So you guys better get your sleep, get your exercise, get your training, get ready, because this is gonna be a battle of good and evil, and they're gonna you have only one choice. You got to be on the side of good, or you're not gonna make it, because you don't have $1 billion. So you have one choice: survive, or you're gonna die. So these dictators are not gonna let you into their families. They are not gonna find use for you, and you're gonna be the leak in the bucket for them. You're gonna be the spy, and they're not gonna feel peaceful about spies in the end when they finish the project. So they're not going to need to share with you. They're not going to need to keep any kind of deals or considerations. So when we came down into the desert here, we found that it was just entirely empty, and that all of the towns and cities along the way had no green. Well, like this to be able to load the pictures to populate, satellite images to populate here and load, so that we can really, some of them are blurred out, but we would really like to see the kind of terrain here. So just desolation, just empty desolation with no water, no green, no life. And this will continue just for thousands upon thousands of kilometers. And you'll find small cities along the way. This is actually quite a bigger city, and you can just see that it's entirely red and gold. We don't have the green. This is what the terrain looks like. And I wanted to give you the signification about this, about the geography and about the richness of this world. Like these orange sands, they're reds because they contain iron. And as you know, iron is just essential to our economies now. It's essential to the technological advancement of our life. Essential. And these, as we know, all of the precious metals, all of the precious gems, diamonds, rubies, emeralds are made from magma, hot volcanoes, under the ground, kimberlite pipes. And all of the nuclear materials come out of the hot pressure systems generation from the magma, the volcanoes, kimberlite pipes. And that these here, while seeming just empty desolation, this is just billions and billions of dollars for economic power, natural resources, minerals. Every person on this planet can be made to thrive, to live in a mansion, to have every beauty adorning his home. So if you could just look around your world and just know 2 or 3 things, you're going to immediately understand that we're being taken for a ride, and that God says they have no power over us. Let's wake up. So this is the, we're going to need you. We're going to need you. There's going to be heroes and there's going to be people, and we're going to need each other. There's going to come times where you're not going to be able to defend yourself, and even though you're going to fight, and at that last minute, you're going to need someone to intercede for you at that last moment. So you're going to be able to give 99%, and you're going to need someone to sweep in your hand and to save you. And you're going to need to do it for other people. You guys got to wake up, and you got to get ready to stretch out your hand, and you got to start saving people, and you got to send the message up to the high ranks that we're not going to live in the dirt. We're not stupid, and we're not going to tolerate this from someone who's so lowly as you, who's completely degenerated from your life drive. And you're gonna continue and understand that when you follow the way of Shaitan, your biological systems and your neurological systems degenerate. Okay? So you're gonna learn that. This is 100% fact. So this is economic power in the wastelands, and they know it. And this is how, for thousands and thousands of years, the kings and queens were the only ones who had had any kind of intellectualism, and that was reserved. The scholarship was reserved for only the richer people, and the richer people kept the secret that they are getting all of this wealth from mining, and that just from the trade of mining, that they were able to leverage the mountains of gold over his cities. They were able to use these mountains of gold to pay armies and security forces. They were able to get the power that they needed through the mining to leverage over human life, to lie to the people, to obstruct the knowledge, and to oppress them sadistically, perversely, and to generate the life drive until it has been, from the rise of cell phones and from the engine and this new transformation in technology. Now everyone's gay. Now everyone's a homosexual, and they're putting excessive fluoride and chlorine inside of our water systems to clean the water, and it is making the animals homosexual. It's making the frogs gay. It's making people homosexual. And then they continue to degenerate the society by creating such economic hardships on the family life that husbands develop hatreds towards the family because he's being oppressed economically. This complete destruction of the life drive. So we continue across the way of this pipeline, and it continues and continues with this emptiness and with cha-ching, money, 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 cha-ching. And then until you even get here to the real money maker, the kimberlite pipe diamond maker. Okay, and then they empty out into all of this, into this green area here, the diamonds. So that is the power system of the Middle East, and that is why World War I happened. This is why World War II happened, and this is why World War III is happening. And this is the power structure. That is the power structure that I showed you, which I'm gonna have to. I obviously closed it. So let's return to it. So this is the power structure. The power structure is that it's all coming out of Ras Tanura. It's going in every direction in effort to control this entire continent here. Out of one central base. Going up that way, it's competitive pipeline. So here is the Iranian pipeline system. So looking at the structure of power for Iran, gas, which is very important to know because the gas is world power. It's economic world power. And it absolutely has been owned by a small number of men because, as I told you, they made some business contracts. They needed engineers, and then they built it, and then they sent them home with a good pay. And who was left holding the power? It was him. It's just like when a king sends his security forces to go and conquer the area, and now he's got that pipeline, and the king sends the soldiers home with a little bit of money, and the king is loaded, mountain of gold. So for what? Why would 1,000 men let one donkey have that power? Because they didn't know. They did not know. And they didn't have the knowledge to be able to access that donkey in power. They just didn't know. And this is the power structure for Iran's pipelines. And as you can see that there is a focalization here along the shores for the gas. And that, let's see here. This is domestic networks here. So the refineries are 100% along the Gulf Oman, Strait Hormuz, and Persian Gulf. Those are where the Iranian refineries are. And you can see that the pipelines are travel up towards these set of smaller countries here to his west. Each country gets his own little pipeline or straw from Iran, and it goes around the Caspian Sea towards Turkmenistan too, probably towards one of their major cities to supply them. So Iran is a regional power based on its ability to supply this life-changing power source of the gas to the countries around it. And So this is the kind of terrain that we have for Iran. All along the shorelines is quite difficult in Iran. It has more water and less heat near the surface. So there has been these formations that send the land up to a higher altitude, so that the land is being pushed up by the chemical reactions of all of these materials and the heat and the situation of the heat versus the water under the ground. And that, I mean, this is a very unfavorable economic terrain. This is not somewhere that you want to live, because to get from here to there, here to there, here to there, you're going to have to go all the way up and all the way down. It's tremendous. It's not the way to go. It's not economically favorable. And what if you have to stop to drink a glass of water on the way because it's very tiring and very long to go? There's no water. So this is just not the place to go. Who's going to go there? Not many people. So everybody's not there. They're over here. So that's how it works. And the greatest number of people are the economic challenge to rule any country. So they have managed to get these small townships here that are very green and full of people, but that are not wielding very strong economic power, because they have not been able to get big or get economic power, because it's very hard for them to get the strength from other countries to be able to get the supplies, to be able to get the trade, to be able to get the business deals, get the interaction, to get they're not getting stronger here in the mountains. They can't get strong here being away from everybody. So but where has it gone? The only place that has been able to focalize, you could see this terrain, it's making it difficult. So that's creating this separation from the gas access area, and it's actually creating a wall of protection for the gas industry from the people being economically situated near him. So if the people's economy gets to come into contact with this gas economy, then the people will start to leverage this incredible power and pressure over these companies. And also, these companies are dangerous. What they're doing is they're using killer chemicals, and you can't play around with this. And when it gets into the water systems, it kills people. It gives cancer. All of the cancer is caused by gas. There is no genetic diseases, and it's just such a heartbreaking and just disgusting, malevolent lie about society. There has never been genetic diseases, never. And I know I've studied proteomics and biology and neuroscience and all of this. All of the cancer and all of these diseases is 2,000% environmentally influenced. And that is, so people are getting cancer from the radio waves that are constantly all around. Being near electrical towers, 100% cancer. Being near a drilling site, heart disease, neurological paralysis, and disease. You'll have breathing problems. You'll start to have a hard time taking air. That's what gas does to the human body. So the people have been separated, and from the location of the gas here in this country, and one of the world powers, there's like 5 world powers in gas, and these are the 2. This is half of it here, Iran and Saudi Arabia. And you'll see that we know that the economic power of Iran is at the Caspian Sea here in Tehran. It's 14 million people. There's only 3 cities in this entire area that are just so big. 3 cities: Cairo, Istanbul, and Tehran. Those are the biggest cities in this area. There is nothing bigger. Those cities are just giants. There's one city, it's half the size, Baghdad. And there are no cities here that are as big as Baghdad, Cairo, Istanbul, and Tehran. There's nothing near this size. Okay, those are economic powers. Everybody else is like 1 million, tops 4 million. That's half. That's half of a half. So the people of Tehran have been deeply oppressed by their ruler, and that there is the economic power over 14 million people here. For 20 years, they have been oppressing the people of Tehran, treating them like slaves, and using this communist Islamic communism to control the people, to deprive them of life. And they are Tehran's economic power is coming out of here, and they have a second now developed area of economic influence, and that is because they have learned to get gas out of the ocean. And originally the gas was being gotten off of the land, and this was accessible. But to face the ocean, to face the sea, to go into an environment underwater where you cannot take air, I mean, this is a technological extraordinaire that